this was the first week where I was really like, man, pro golf sucks. This was a pro golf sucks weekend because the Anthony Kim thing became, and this shouldn't be a surprise, but it became so like political. You know, it was like everyone just lined up on two sides. It was either like, this is trash, I can't believe you're excited for this, or oh my God, if Will Zalatoris shot 80 in his comeback and no one was saying, that he's washed up. It was so like, I think we all had this image in our head of Anthony Kim's going to come back and everyone's going to be on the same team. And it was just, pro golf is so toxic and so divided right now. So you had Anthony Kim making his comeback in front of no one in Saudi Arabia. There was no one there. The cognizant, there weren't any real big names that the average fan knows on top of the leaderboard. It bled into Monday, the weather, they can't really control it. But it just felt like one of those weeks where everyone was it was hard to really even pay attention. And I do it because it's my job and I will always do it. But it just felt like one of those weeks where we've always talked about, eventually this is going to start to damage the game, this split. And I think this was the clearest week yet because there were two tournaments going on and it just felt like neither one of them really had any sort of juice at all.
It is starting to get to a point where, and somebody submitted this in from the gallery, basically said, have we reached the point where the only thing that remotely matters in professional golf is the majors and the Ryder Cup? And I don't think it's that far off. I don't, unless Tiger Woods is in a regular PGA Tour event and he's contending to win his 83rd PGA Tour event that's going to put him above Sam Snead, even though he's already there in my mind already. I don't know that any given week, even if Rory McIlroy is grinding down the stretch against Justin Thomas, that's about as close maybe as you're going to get. And I still don't know that that has the juice to transcend golf. I don't know if that cracks SVP's, hour-long Sports Center coverage. I don't know that it does. And it's like,
I don't think it does. I think it's, and with the OWGR stuff that's going on, Liv basically dropped their application. They're like, we didn't even want to come to the party anyway. But I get it from their perspective. Like they did make changes to their format. They added this promotions and relegations event and, they're not getting world ranking points. It just felt like June 6th, which was March, which was 9 months ago. We thought everything was coming back together. If I would have told you on that day, you're going to fast forward to March 6th, there's going to be no deal on the table. The PGA Tour is going to have taken American money. They're still not getting world ranking points. The best player on Liv is tumbling down the world ranking to 76. They're not even trying to get world ranking points anymore. And the Department of Justice is sniffing around, and this deal looks more unlikely to happen with the PIF than it has at any point. Just this whole coming together thing, it never really happened, or at least not yet. We're no real closer. I mean, we are a little bit, and that they're not suing each other out the ass. But this whole coming together for the good of the game is not really even close to happening.
John Rahm's gone. He flipped. It's like, it's more shattered than it feels like together, way more.
Yeah, it's completely apart from the majors. I think the Masters is going to do a huge number, right? Because it's everyone's coming together and people realize that that's what matters. But, I think the PGA Tour is a couple bad players championship rating away from almost like, what are we going to do?
The shitty part too is that both products kind of just suck. Like the Live is unwatchable because of what you said with there's nobody watching and you just got to have crowds, man. It's like we're watching the COVID rounds again when you watch them play wherever the hell they were this last weekend. And you're, I'm tuning in for a couple of minutes. You're trying to watch while we're like at breakfast, but it's at 4 a.m., whatever. And there's nobody out there. And you're like, okay, this doesn't feel important. And then you kind of look at the PGA Tour leaderboard and there's no real big names up there. And every sport, even football, the highest sport, is driven by the stars. It just is. And if your stars aren't in contention, people lose interest. It's not that good.
It is amazing all of the systems that the emergence of Live, what they've broken, right? World Golf Rankings, PGA Tour, like in a lot of ways it exposed things that probably needed to get exposed, whether you agree with Liv, whether you don't. It is getting to the point where I just don't know at what cost. They're exposing so many things and there's so much division that it feels like golf is at a tipping point. Like I really, it's a good thing to like, competition breeds like, oh, it exposes what is wrong with the league that maybe had a monopoly on the sport before. And I think that's a good thing ultimately. But now we're getting to a point where if this thing doesn't come together and the players are playing the same events, and there's that tension of like, oh, there's live guys there, the PGA Tour guys there. That's the juice that this thing needs. The further and longer this thing stays apart, again, it's good that it exposed all these things. Now there's different money coming in, blah, 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 different events, all this stuff. But the further and longer they stay apart, we're getting to a strange time with golf, I think.
Yeah, and we're getting to a point where it's almost hard for new stars to be coined on the PGA Tour because the competition is cheapened somewhat, right? Like,
yes.
We think about, okay, the system will produce new stars. Well, Jake Knapp is a good example, right? He wins a tournament in Mexico. He finishes third last week. But if people aren't paying attention, if people don't value a PGA Tour win for the same thing that they used to, it's hard for the public to get behind these guys because they'll be like, oh, they're just winning on a diminishing tour,
right?
Or on a diminished tour. So yeah, it goes longer and longer. It's a serious problem, and I don't think it's one of those things where the PGA Tour like ratings are down and the juice is down. That doesn't necessarily mean that Live is like overtaking them, and Live is like this incredible product. That's what Rick said earlier. It both just kind of stinks. They're both taking away from each other. It's not like the PGA Tour interest is going straight over to Live. I think there's just less interest across the board,
which is
too much, really.
Yeah,
it's too much golf.
Yeah,
golf's boring at its core. So it's like two different leagues, two different streams, too many tournaments. I don't know how you fix it. I really don't. You got to create drama. The majors have the drama just because of the fact that they're the majors. How the fuck is the PGA Tour going to get the Cognizant Classic to be drama filled and fun to watch? I don't know. But maybe just those like little events will always just stay little events that no one cares about. They're just filler events that do they even care that the ratings are down?
Realistically, the media deals are all long term and they're all already agreed upon. So it's really like a long trend where it doesn't really matter week to week, but those are the numbers that come out week to week, and then everyone can be like, ha ha ha, see, the ratings were down.
I'm going to speak on behalf of golf here. We just want to put our best foot forward, and that is currently not happening. At the very least, you want to try to have the best field so you can try to have the best ratings. That, in the current system, is not happening.
I do think you're getting shittier leaderboards because you don't have as many good players playing because they're split between two tours, and now they're so hyper-focused on just playing the elevated events that you're less likely to get. I mean, especially now, you literally can't get a Jon Rahm versus Rory McIlroy or JT or Spieth down the stretch. You're way less likely to get that because they're either on a different tour or not playing as much. And so you get sort of no-name players more often, and that just kind of kills the leaderboard, and nobody's talking about it. You got no buzz, you got no ratings, and it makes it for a shitty product. So it's not a good fucking spot to be in.
We've been saying, oh, this is great for guys like us because we're headline guys. We host a podcast. We put out videos. We put out TikToks. Like, having all this drama is a good thing because it gives us something to talk about. I no longer feel that way. And we're almost in a holding pattern now where the big guys who were going to jump have jumped. Those are the headlines. And it's even not that big of a deal anymore when guys jump. I mean, Jon Rahm jumping was a big deal, but it dominated headlines for like a couple of days and it was gone. Like the days of being like, who's going to go? Oh, then we can talk about it. Oh, there's going to be tension when they see each other at these majors. All of that to me feels like it's gone. And now we just have two leagues and it's fucking boring.
It was supposed to be over. It was supposed to end 9 months ago. If you watch that first episode of Full Swing, it's all about like the merger and all that news. And that was the messaging, was full merger, everyone back together. And then the storyline was, are the guys who stayed on the PGA Tour going to be really pissed off because these guys are coming back? That was the next thing.
It's also fucking crazy to look now back at how clear the optics were that it was presented like a merger, and then how much the PGA Tour afterwards tried to backtrack and be like, in no way is this a merger. They had the fucking commissioner of the tour sitting up there next to Yasser Al-Rumayyan together talking about how they've reached a deal.
Looks like a merger.
On earth would not say that that's clearly a fucking merger. They're on CNBC. That's where they do merger talk, on CNBC.
Yeah,
it's like,
literally what it's for. No one's happy. The PGA Tour players aren't happy because there's only 69 guys in the field at this week at Bay Hill. Nick Dunlap is playing alone. Everyone's like, this is so stupid. Why don't they just let one person in? Rules are rules. I don't really have like the sympathy. If you didn't get in, you didn't get in. But I just feel like no one's happy.
I will say like a Wyndham Clark is happy. A Wyndham Clark is happy because a Wyndham Clark played really well over the last year, and now being a top 10, 15 player in the world who won a major last year, he is going to get, and already has gotten, way richer than he would have gotten
that's a
3
good
or
point.
5 years ago.
It's
So
very
there are
It's a very specific like Venn diagram of people who are happy right now in the world of golf. And Wyndham Clark, I would agree, does fall into that. But we would like it to be bigger because it's very small right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.